like if the Chiefs win, they will be the first team since the Patriots in 03 and 04 to go back-to-back, right? Mm-hmm. And start the Chiefs dynasty, will Mahomes win 10 in a row kind of thing. And if Brady wins, it's his 7th, add to the glam. So you're right. There's no story underdog.
Yeah.
The story is this is the greatest of all time against maybe the most talented. Yeah.
You have the greatest quarterback in the league right now versus the greatest quarterback in the history of the league. So it's like there's not – I don't know. It's weird. Like there's always – it always feels like there's some kind of underdog.
It would be like if if it would have been possible for like a 24-year-old Peyton Manning to be against Joe Montana, right? Because at the time it was like, oh, Peyton Manning will be the greatest. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if that would have happened, and it could have happened, because when did Montana retire?
Joe Montana?
No, I don't think so.
No, I couldn't have. I'm thinking of yeah, never mind.
Steve Young? Are you thinking of Steve Young? Yeah.
Steve Young had taken
I'm
over.
Preacher Paul, and this is the Magic in the Attic podcast. And we're getting ready for the Super Bowl this week. And so we've covered stonks. We've covered the Super Bowl. We don't have to talk about those things anymore this episode. We've the two biggest things we've already dealt with in our intro. Look at us.
Maybe like Favre versus Elway.
So,
sure.
Top 5.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Top 5. We had a great top 5 this week from this was an idea of Midnight Marks. The top 5 idea is top 5 cereal of all time.
Yeah, man.
And I just went with like super childhood route with this, like the things that I loved when I was a kid. But I want to hear you guys talk.
So like a more specific version of soup, right?
Yeah.
Wait, I thought it was top 5 cereals that you eat without milk.
What?
Isn't that what you said?
I think that was like originally.
I think you said with or without milk.
Yeah, it can be with or without milk.
Well, I made a top 5 cereals without milk and a top 5 cereal killer list.
Oh, that's interesting.
We can, well,
blaze through it.
You can also include
by efficiency.
You can also include.
No, I'm just kidding.
You can also include soups in your cereal killer.
It's
top
breakfast
5 as well.
soup.
Because we know that the sodium content in Campbell's chicken noodle soup has killed more people than Ted Bundy ever did. So.
There you go.
There you go. So Midnight Mark, this was your idea. So what's your top 5? Let's hear you first.
All right. So number 5. I mean, I got a little bit of a mix. I did originally say the without milk thing, but we kind of. I don't know. I didn't back that up this week because that was 2 weeks ago that I said it. So number 5, just got to go with the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Like in terms of the super sweet, like basically just sugar. You can eat that without milk. I mean, I don't know. It's basically just candy. My number 4 is Honey Nut Cheerios. Because when you're a kid, you love them. When you're a parent, you love giving them to your kid. And then you sneak a few because you're like, wow, these are awesome. My number 3 is going to the childhood favorite was, and I don't even know how good these are, but my kids had them the other day. Super underrated, straight sugar, Fruity Pebbles. I mean, those things, I didn't even know they still existed. Yeah, but they make your milk turn like red and disgusting. I'm not a chocolate person either. So, and then the top 2, the stuff that I keep in my pantry at all times. Number 2, Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds. My dad used to eat that all the time, and I started eating it as a kid. I was like, get the sugary stuff out. Like, I like this. It makes me feel like it's healthy when it's probably not, honestly. So that's the mark of a good cereal. Like, you think this is healthy, but it's like probably just straight trash. Still good. And number 1, the all-time, the savior of you like not going hungry at Ohio camp, Captain Crunch, which everybody says makes their mouth feel weird at the top, but it doesn't do that to me. I mean,
By
I know
feel
it does
weird,
that,
do you mean it makes you bleed and it hurts?
something like that. That doesn't happen to me.
Yeah, that
though.
was what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, like people say that all the time about the crunch, but it doesn't happen to me. So I don't know.
Just let it
I
sit in
love
the
it.
milk for like 20 minutes before you eat it.
I must.
You gotta give it a good soak.
But I'm
before you-
down. I can eat the crunch without milk because, like, I don't know. I do it for my kids. I put it in the bag like a little snack, and I'm like, man, this stuff is good anyway. So that's my 5.
Okay. Well, pivoting from Midnight Mark's mouth of iron, which can withstand the pain of eating Captain Crunch without milk, let's go to JBM.
All right, Pee Wee Gaskins, Ted Bundy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Pee Wee Gaskins
Okay.
is on your top 5. Boo.
All right,
Who even
Pee
is
Wee.
that?
You need to look it up. Okay.
Get in.
All right, here's my list.
Is it real?
Number 5. Now, mind you, these are all cereals that I thought you had to eat with your hands. No milk. Number 5, Golden Grams. Fantastic. Number 4, Apple
Makes your feet
Jacks.
smell weird.
The better Fruit Loop. Number 3, Cookie Crisp. Number 2, Cinnamon Toast Crunch before they did the 70% less sugar thing. When we were kids, Cinnamon Toast Crunch was so much better. And then they changed the recipe.
It's kind of like the fries. How McDonald's changed the
It was
fries.
making the children obese. And
Yeah, whatever.
Somebody
giving
needs
them
to
heart
create a
disease.
full
Thanks,
sugar
Michelle
version.
Obama. I don't know. And then and then number 1, I was having trouble. So I was like, is it Captain Crunch or is it Reese's Puffs? And I couldn't figure out what to do. But then I was like, what about peanut butter Captain Crunch? So I just made a hybrid.
Yeah,
That's my list.
it's good.
Word.
You know
Is
what's
that real
funny?
cereal?
All right,
Peanut
Piano
butter
Man.
Captain Crunch, is that real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know what's funny?
Because it was supposed
Cookie-
to be
Cookie Crisp is actually the cereal that rip my mouth up. It's good, but I'm like I
I
can't.
mean,
eat
it's just straight up like miniature chocolate chip cookies that you're eating. It's absurd that it's even
But it's
considered a
it's-
meal.
It's burned into my head though from when I was a kid. They had a commercial. The Cookie Crisp was like the thing. It was like a bear, I think. It was like Cookie
Yeah.
Crisp.
Yup.
I just still associate that in my head with the cereal. Go ahead, Piano Man.
All right, number 5, Lucky Charms. I mean, come on now. Number 4, already been mentioned, Honey Bunches of
That's Sweet
Oats.
Lucky Charms.
Number 3, also been mentioned, Honey Nut Cheerios. Number 2, Frosted Flakes, boy.
Oh, so good.
Flakes. And then number 1, as been mentioned on every list, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I got a box of it still in my house. Because I always, if I want cereal, I'm going to eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Stay woke.
Yeah, but now I have to invent the we have to bring back the full sugar version.
Makes sense.
You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
mind whatever version I got right now.
I mean, it's still good, but there was like an adjustment
Full
period
sugar,
for me
Full sugar.
for like a few years
Yeah.
where I was like, man, it ain't as good as it used to be. And
Fun
then I
fact.
adjusted.
Frosted Flakes, Tony the Tiger. That's the Grinch. Straight up.
What?
It's the Grinch how.
Word.
Like the
Different
cartoon
voice.
Grinch, Thurl Ravenscroft
yeah.
or whatever his name is. They're the same voice.
I think at sometimes in his life, Jim Carrey believes that he is also Tony the
Tony
Tiger.
the Tiger.
Yes. And the Grinch.
And the butt of Bo Burnham's greatest song. All right.
So my top 5, a lot of things these have already been taken, already been mentioned. Number 5, Captain Crunch, obviously great. Number 4, nobody got this. Count Chocula. I mean, I know Midnight Mark said he's not a chocolate person, but as far as the chocolate cereals go, I think pretty.
I
high.
mean, I'm with you, but
Lucky
I'm not putting. Like, I thought I had to eat it with my hands. It changed everything for me.
yeah,
You have five
I
more.
did mine with. Yeah, I did mine going with or without cereal, but
Cocoa Puffs.
I mean, with or without milk, rather. Yeah, Cocoa Puffs are good too. I don't know, but I like Count Chocula. Lucky Charms. That's me, Lucky Charms. They're magically delicious. I mean, obviously, I got that a lot in school, so I gotta hold down, represent the leprechaun community. which is woefully underrepresented in media. And with all these derogatory stereotypes about leprechauns being greedy and hoarding gold, I'm just trying to do my part to change the image that leprechauns have in this culture. Anyway, number 2, I had Cinnamon Toast Crunch, obviously fantastic, and I can't believe nobody got my number 1, which was my favorite as a kid, absolute favorite, Reese's cereal. Reese's freaking cereal.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Reese's Puffs.
Oh,
Right.
Reese's Puffs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
JBM
I talked
almost
about
did
that.
Yeah.
If I had to be forced to not pick Captain Crunch peanut butter, I would have put Reese's Puffs at number 1. But
Speaking
to me,
of-
like Reese's, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of underrated, like, leprechaun stuff, there's 8 leprechaun movies. 8.
one of them
wow.
has Jennifer Aniston in it.
The first one.
But let
Yeah, it
me
does.
add one to the list and just ask you guys this question. So, did y'all ever eat Rice Krispies cereal for breakfast?
Yeah.
But just like straight up, just like douse it in sugar?
Yeah, I did do that.
Like, I would just pour sugar all over it, and it was
Yeah, was
and
that
then
like
you'd,
the
like
thing you're supposed to do? Because that's the only cereal I poured sugar on.
yeah, but like I would like scrape the bottom of the bowl, and I'd be like, oh, I just got a good scoop of sugar.
Yeah, I did that too.
My father-in-law does that. He buys like the really bland flakes so he can put sugar. He puts milk in it and then puts sugar in it. But like that's why he does it. He doesn't buy like.
Isn't this
so,
weird to think about? I don't know. Something's weird about adding sugar and milk together. I don't know.
That's what he does.
Because there's
a
already
delicacy.
sugar in the milk, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a delicacy in the United States.
This is why Joe Biden increased the price of insulin to make all those people pay who put sugar on their Rice Krispies.
It is what it is. What was your other 5? Real quick.
What?
Your other 5 list.
No, I was just kidding.
Oh, my bad.
I mean, we can do that one week, but
Man.
I was just kidding.
How do we, if we were going to do a top 5 serial killers, top 5, how would we even judge?
Just
Who the best
straight
ones?
line efficiency, kills per year, without
Okay,
being
but
caught.
see, I feel like then we all end up with the same top 5.
Wait.
The same list.
So, yeah, number
Everybody would have to have their own.
How do we
standard.
judge
We'd
what
have to
makes a
just
good
compile
serial
it
killer?
through
How long they
research.
got away with it? I mean, you could do it a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How many times they escaped from prison? Shout
Well,
out
who's
to
the dude here recently that they just found out killed
Samuel
9
Little.
Yeah.
Samuel Little.
Samuel Little, rest in peace.
Did he? Is that confirmed?
Really, rest in peace.
Are his like?
Is that what we want to say?
Is his like 90 kills confirmed?
It's the most confirmed.
I don't know if
of
not. I
that
don't know
we
if the
know of.
90 is confirmed.
Well, because like
I
the
think
one dude that there's a documentary on, the guy that made it up, he killed he just killed his wife, and then he said he killed all these other people.
No, he actually killed some people.
I
people.
thought he only killed one person.
No. He killed at least a couple. Well, oh shoot, what's that dude's name?
yeah,
Can't
he did
remember.
make a bunch of them up though. Yeah.
He made like
Henry
literally
Lee Lucas,
thousands. Yeah,
Henry Lee Lucas. Yeah.
and Otis Toole. Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta get some more serial killer topics.
That's dope.
I'll just
All
never
right, I'm
forget.
in.
Yeah, never mind. Yep. We gotta hit serial killers later. Yeah, we gotta talk about Israel Keys sometime. That's a whole other. He would fly to a state and then drive 1,000 miles and kill somebody and then dispose of their body in a different state and then fly home. Anyway, true crime nerds / aspiring serial killers, holler at us. First subject of the show. It would be useful for me to get my outline up here. So we had a listener question, actually, and it had to do with Democratic presidents and the GDP. So the question was, statistically, GDP goes up the most, it seems like, under Democratic administration. So what is the explanation for that? Why is that? I have a few thoughts about this, but not really that many. I feel like this is more of a Piano Man question because he's the economics guy. So, Piano Man, what do you think? Why do Democratic administrations have higher GDPs? Usually.
Well, I have a simple answer to it. So GDP is based on how much expenditure there is per population over the year. And so Democrats typically raise taxes. I don't know. They can give me a call and tell me I'm wrong, but I feel like that's what happens there. And if you raise taxes,
Yeah.
then it can generate spending sometimes. Like, I don't know. So there are just factors that can cause increased spending. And I think that Democrats do a better job of stimulating spending.
Okay. Midnight Mark, what do you think?
My wife just came home, so she's being really loud.
It's all right.
Man.
She can guest on the pod.
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I was gonna say. I don't know. Maybe it is because they tax more and they pump more up of the welfare or whatever, so those people have more to spend. So people at the bottom are spending more under Democratic presidents, and so like Piano Man said, it kind of like circulates more money. But I don't necessarily know if that means we have more.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not sure, to be totally honest.
Yeah, I get the only real thought I had was just like the more you're spending, the more money there's going to be in the system, which is going to drive up the total P. But that's probably a very basic understanding and probably flawed. But I'm not
Can I say
an
one more thing
economics
I
person.
just totally
Go ahead.
left out that I was planning on saying? Was that so when they raise the taxes, they usually also increase like the government programs or government like infrastructure projects and things of that nature, which causes spending to go up significantly. Like government projects really help the GDP a lot, and you see that a lot with Democratic presidents too.
Yeah, I think looking at a graph like FDR was the biggest GDP growth, and you can figure out why that is. Like he made like he doubled the size.
He was
of
the greatest
government,
dictator we ever had.
Yeah.
All time too, or just like recently?
The statistics that were passed around that I saw were just from like the latter half of for basically FDR on. So FDR was the biggest growth of any of them, but he also had like twice as much time in office as anyone else too.
To say like what, 14 years?
Yeah, go ahead, JBM. What were your thoughts here?
So I looked at a lot of things on this because I was very curious. So number one, I think that the overall number is extremely skewed because Republicans have to deal with Herbert Hoover, who is the worst ever, and then Democrats get the benefit of FDR in World War II and the best ever, right? So that throws it off a little bit. But then I started looking back. So obviously we spend more now on military than we ever have, but as a percentage of GDP, like I don't know, for a long time it seems like so in the 60s into the 70s, like Kennedy, Johnson, like when we had like the highest GDP, it was when military spending was a higher percentage of GDP, which is interesting. Then it kind of dipped down for a minute, and then when Reagan got in office, it jumped up again, which is interesting. I mean, these are some of the people who were the highest, but then it kind of changed, right? Because obviously Clinton has a good GDP relative to some of these guys back then, but didn't have that influx as far as a percentage. But Clinton signed the NAFTA agreement, and I mean, I don't know how much you can like track this. Someone's probably been able to prove this, but the overflow of illegal drugs into America after NAFTA is insane. Like it was basically like NAFTA for the drug guys was like, this is the best thing ever. And so then all of a sudden you had more money here that ended up being spent by people, right? But but just looking in a general, like up until the 90s, I don't know. I'm trying to figure
So
out
you're
why it
saying
changed.
selling drugs is a good thing.
I mean,
It does
if you,
stimulate the
if
economy.
you want to stimulate the economy, I guess. But it's just interesting because, like, so you obviously World War II, then you had the Vietnam War that boosted it. Then you had the Cold War when Reagan became president and really started juicing up, our spending. And then it kind of changed when it got to Clinton. Like things just kind of changed from like what that pattern seemed to have been previously. So I'm trying to account for why that change happened. And it seems like in part, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing I came up with. I don't know if that's actually correct. I was trying to do a little more research on it, but and also the percentage of government spending relative to the GDP, just in general. This isn't foolproof by any means, but it certainly is higher, as you guys were mentioning. It certainly, on an average, seems to be higher when there's a Democratic president. But also, I think there's something to be said here of when some of the lowest times of spending, again, this isn't foolproof all the way through, but some of the lowest times of spending, at least like in our recent history. So when GDP or government spending percentage of GDP, it dropped pretty hard the last 6 years of the Clinton presidency, because the other side of the aisle was dominating, or was in the majority as far as Congress. And then what's interesting is the highest that percentage has ever been was the first 2 years of the Obama administration, when the Democrats held everything, which is also interesting. And to be fair to the other side of this argument, for somebody who's saying like, hey, this is just because Democrats are better, Democrats have held all three branches of government significantly more than the Republicans ever have. Like just abundantly more. Especially, I mean, all the way through the 50s, 60s, 70s, even and then, well, really up until Reagan, it was pretty much dominated by Democrats.
Well, it's also interesting to me that, like, in recent history, the two biggest hits to our economy happened while there was a president in office, or a Republican president. So 9/11 and this year or last year, the pandemic. Because I almost wonder what that looked like. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but what did it look like under Trump the first couple of years? And then obviously it looks the way it does because of the pandemic.
The first 3 years under Trump were fantastic, and the last year destroyed him.
Yeah. And so, and then if you look at, and not to say they got lucky, but it's like, but then you look at Obama, you have the crash of '08, which happened like right before he actually took office. And then he kind of then they put the stuff in place, and then boom, 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 it kind of went through. So in recent history, the three times that our economy has like hit the dip, a lot of it was just like, and that bank policy, I mean, that was a Democratic policy. I mean, subprime loans, that was not something that, Bush put in. So, I mean, but it was just tumbling and tumbling and tumbling. And so, again, not that they get lucky, necessarily, but it's not the only reason, because I do think that there's, like, Bill Clinton did a lot of great things in terms of having a surplus. And he was president for 8 years, so it's not one of those things where it's like, oh, he benefited from like Reagan's the whole time, because he had to hold it for 8 years. I hate that argument, honestly. The whole, well, Trump was only good because Obama was so good, but then like if Biden does well, it'll be like, well, it's because he cleaned it up. You can benefit from the previous administration, but you do have to continue to do it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like any job. If you have a well-oiled machine that one manager is doing, and then he gets promoted or retires, and then somebody comes in, you could have the same staff, the same people, but they don't motivate them the same well, and they don't do as well. I mean, we see that all the time in our jobs. So I think it's crap, for that. Oh, well, But I do think it's funny that 9/11, crash of '08, and the pandemic, all Republican presidents, and then all kind of flowed through but two of them went right into Democratic presidents immediately after. So then they get the bounce back. So,
I just want to.
But we haven't seen the bounce back yet from pandemic. So,
well, it's going to naturally bounce back.
Right, but well, maybe.
I just want to jump in for Piano Man here and say that the Federal Reserve directly caused the crash of '08. And also look up United Airlines and American Airlines getting shorted the week before 9/11. Not saying anything, just saying.
We're not saying anything.
It's a free market.
No. I mean,
if you knew that the jihadis were going to fly planes into the World Trade Center and destroy it and shut down the airline industry for like a couple weeks, I mean, you would short it too.
I mean, yeah.
I'm sure there's a very reasonable explanation.
Snopes said it's not true.
There always is.
It's not true? That didn't happen?
That's what Snopes says.
Wait, can I share a quick fact? Y'all know what Snopes is? You know the extent of their research? It's just like two
Snopes
people.
is crap, first of all. Snopes
It's
is
just
so
straight up
stupid.
it's like a husband and wife that just like look stuff up and then they post about it. It's crazy.
Yeah, CNN.
Is it?
If it's
Snopes has been around for a long time.
But it's always just been that. I mean, they may have expanded, but in the beginning, that's what it was. They just like looked stuff up and then said if they thought it was true or not.
All right, but the thing is Snopes used to be dope. Snopes used to be awesome. Like, you get in, that's where you like found all your urban legend
It's
stuff
like
growing
a
up.
conspiracy theory website.
Everything was dope before everything became political.
I guess that's true.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Snopes just used to be awesome.
So, a Florida condo board is suing a woman for feeding stray cats, attracting an unknown number of stray cats by feeding them. Man, first stay-at-home orders, then no stray-at-home orders. Can't catch a break. Thank you. I will accept my accolades now. So Midnight Mark had a related question, and the question was long, so I'm just going to read it. Saw a graphic yesterday that said basketball players of the last 20 years were Kobe, LeBron, Steph, and Durant. Where's the love for Dirk? What figures in sports, movies, or music don't get enough love and for who they are? Not necessarily underrated, but like all-time influential or great that would maybe be the first one off Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
So that's a very long-winded question,
Yeah.
but I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, I'm going to say let's try and keep this to sports.
I mean, I was just thinking
let's
about it.
talk about Dirk for a minute.
Yeah, so my thought process was I looked at that graphic and I was like, okay, Kobe has 5 championships, Dirk has 1. I get it. But there's an argument to be made that, like, Kobe is like Michael Jordan version 2. He might be as good, I don't know. But, like, his position doesn't exist anymore. Like, no one does that. 6'6", shooting guard, like that. He was like the last of that.
Kawhi Leonard doesn't exist.
What? So it doesn't matter. What my point is even though he's greater, if you look at it's like the most influential players of the last 20 years, is Dirk actually more influential than, say, Kobe Bryant? Because even though it took maybe another 10 years, the whole like 7-footer with a pure jumper that stretched the floor. You don't need a guy with his back to the basket to be your 5. And the Mavericks were one of the first teams to really create the whole positionless system, all because of him. So even though he's not greater or in a top 5 all time or top 10 all time, but is he more influential to the game now than like Kobe? Or maybe even Steph? Like, is Steph just I wouldn't say him because he shoots them all the time, but like Durant. Because Durant gets credit for that, for being 6'10", can shoot, do all that stuff. But, I mean, Dirk was doing that. I mean, he could move, too. So, I was just thinking, is he one off the Mount Rushmore? Or it should be included?
Did Dirk ever lead the league in scoring or get close?
Yeah, he scored 81 points in a game.
I mean, that doesn't mean you led the league in scoring.
It did that time.
Again, this is my point. I'm not
You
saying
did
he's
on that
better.
day.
So I guess you're saying influential in terms of who changed the game of basketball more?
Yes.
I mean, I could get behind that. I mean, as far as changing the game of basketball, I think the people who changed the game of basketball the most were Magic, Jordan, and Steph Curry is actually somebody who I think really changed the game of basketball.
Right.
And it honestly kind of hurt the product itself, even though people are more talented now. But yeah, I think Dirk definitely changed some things, or at least started the process. And then I think ultimately what happened is because he did it, and then obviously Steph is not a big man, but because Steph Curry was like, hey, you can shoot threes and it's way better than shooting twos.
Right.
Like literally in the middle of Steph Curry's, so Dwight Howard, right? Dwight Howard was like a top 5 NBA player for like 5-6 years in a row. And then Steph Curry happened. And then like overnight, Dwight Howard was just like a journeyman. Like he wasn't that back to the basket player. Just like the impact of it wasn't the same anymore. Yeah. But I think Dirk definitely kind of started the movement. I consider Dirk probably the most underrated player ever, personally.
Well, it's kind of like if Giannis would have played in the 80s and 90s. I mean, he's already great now, but it's like he would be definitively, without a doubt, the best, right? But he can't shoot now, so like I feel like that Bucks team that can't win the championship now could maybe win some in the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like the Sixers right now. Same kind of thing.
Right.
Like Ben Simmons is the same kind of player. He can't shoot, so it's a problem.
Yep.
Piano Man, you got any thoughts on this?
I feel like there's one player who totally changed the game of basketball and never gets any credit, doesn't even get credit on this podcast. His name's Bill Russell. I mean, the dude changed how defense is played. Like, he is the reason that defense is set up the way it is today because he changed how you rebound. He changed how you block. He changed all of it. So, I mean, that guy did more for the sport than anybody.
Right.
To be fair to the Bill, I was kind of talking like modern NBA, like post 3-point line NBA basketball.
Yeah, I don't think Dirk was really that influential to the game for me. Like, if you could shoot the ball, you could shoot the ball. It doesn't matter what size you are. Everybody wants to be able to shoot. I mean, and just because he could do it, he didn't have any qualities that I see that like, except for maybe Durant. I mean, you could argue that Durant is very similar to Dirk, but I feel like.
But is Durant more influential to that than Dirk was?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the argument. I would say he is, but just because he actually has won. So I don't know a lot of the stats on Dirk. Has he won like MVPs, led the league in scoring and stuff like that?
I don't know if he won MVPs.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Kind of why he gets left out of the discussion for me.
Yeah. I guess I just think about it like he was the first like center, like he's a center. That
Can I ask you a question?
He shot 40% from 3, 50% from the field, and 90%. He's in the 40, 50, 90 club, and was.
But Durant's just a lot more athletic. Like Dirk had to do it in a certain way, whereas Durant can like drive to the hole. Like you didn't really see Dirk taking people one-on-one. He kind of had that fadeaway shot, and that was his patent shot, and that's what he did. He didn't.
But I think that's
dominate.
I think that's Midnight Mark's point, though, is that Dirk just doesn't get credit for, maybe not influential. I don't know if it's the exact right word, but I think what he's trying to say is like, I mean, it is the right word depending on your context of it, right? But like, as far as like influencing the basketball community, like people are never going to look at Dirk and be like, man, like Kobe, Durant, like these are players that are better than him because they're just simply more athletic. They're better defenders. But I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think what Midnight Mark is saying is just like the fact that Dirk was 7 feet tall and he was a legitimate threat from three. I think he was the first person. I believe he was the first person, and so it kind of changed the game of like big men basketball.
Yeah, there's very few people who have done 40, 50, 90, right? Like Steph has done it, and I think maybe Kobe has done it, but I don't think Durant has. And Dirk did, I think, 2 or 3 times.
Ooh, I bet Durant has.
You think so? I mean, he might have. I don't know. But that used to be like a really exclusive club, right? And people might do it more often now because like everybody has triple-doubles now, right? But that's kind of like the Russell Westbrook thing. Like, so Russell Westbrook was doing triple-doubles before everyone else. And now, like, it just seems like anybody can get a triple-double like every game. You know?
Yeah, he was doing it before Oscar Robertson, right?
Well, I mean, in the modern game. I mean, JB and I were talking about that before. Like, triple-doubles, like, don't seem impressive anymore.
Okay, I got the list.
Okay.
Larry Bird, Malcolm Brogdon, Steph, KD, Reggie, Steve Nash, Dirk, Mark Price. And
A lot of white
as
people.
a bonus, Steve Nash and Larry Bird are the only ones to have done it more than once.
Oh.
It's funny because actually Larry Bird's a good comparison to me to Dirk. But Larry Bird did it.
No, that's blasphemous. Larry Bird is the most disrespect. Larry Bird's athleticism was absurd, and everyone just pretends it wasn't because he was white. Larry
I
Bird,
think that's how Dirk is,
about
too.
Dirk.
Dirk was athletic as well.
Dirk, come on.
nah, but
Because,
Dirk
like,
wasn't
Rasheed
athletic.
Wallace could step back and shoot the three as a 6'10", 6'11". He could do the fadeaway
Larry
jumper,
Bird
but
had
he
the same
couldn't
athleticism.
create the way
No.
Dirk did.
No. Okay, listen. There's a reason Larry Bird has multiple MVPs. Larry Bird, literally, I watched this. I'll send you the highlights because it's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Larry Bird one night before the game, I can't remember who was calling the game, but he went over to him and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot every shot left-handed tonight," and he had like 45 points for no reason.
I said
Like-
Larry Bird was a better version of Dirk, but Dirk was similar to him. But that's why I'm saying, like, that's why
Okay,
I don't think Dirk
okay.
was that influential because there are people better than him at doing the same thing he did. That's kind of my point.
But it
Okay.
took 25 to 30 years for, like, every big man to shoot threes. And it only took, like, 5 to 10 years after
Rick
Dirk.
Smith.
Because the Mavericks started playing that positionless basketball with, like, Antoine Jamison and Nick Van Exel and those guys. I mean, he didn't win a lot of championships, but they were, like, they created the positionless concept that then the Spurs.
I will say Dirk very possibly has the most impressive championship of a superstar player ever. Like,
Oh, yeah.
literally that season he won. He beat the Thunder when they had literally 3 dudes on their team who ended up winning MVP, right? Russ, KD, and Harden. He also beat the Lakers that had just won 2 championships in a row with Kobe and Powell.
And Bynum was playing well.
And Bynum, Lamar Odom, that was a good team. And then in the championship, he beat the Heat with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. And the second best player on his team was, like, Jason Kidd in a wheelchair.
Jason Terry, I think, who was also like 36.
Like, Michael Finley. That team, like, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
There's a bunch of 35 and older. They were all super.
I added it up one time. He beat, like, 10 Hall of Famers on his way there. It's crazy.
Monster.
Well,
Anyway,
Dirk
I mean-
is pretty good. I think we can all agree Dirk was pretty good. I don't know if we decided if he's on Mount Rushmore, but pretty all right. We could talk about. I like this subject though, like people who are underrated in their fields. I feel like we could discuss this some more.
Kind of
anyway,
like
We can expand on this. No, don't say it. We'll save it for next week.
We'll save it. We'll save it. So this week, Mitch McConnell defended Liz Cheney. That's the first joke. And then related, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman, excuse me. I don't under her. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman who believes in a Jewish laser in space that controls the weather, is being condemned and strip her of her committee assignments, and she's being called all sorts of names. People are calling her deranged, out of touch with reality, a crazy conspiracy theorist, or as I like to call her, kind of a fun lady. I genuinely though, they were playing back those clips of her saying all kinds of crazy stuff, and I'm like, she seems fun. Like, honestly, she can't do any worse than.
Isn't she a Sandy Hook denier? Like big time.
Yeah, she totally is. Yeah, she's more InfoWars than Alex.
Sandy Hook truther.
Or sorry, yeah, truther. Sorry.
I'm just
well,
kidding.
denying that it happened. Yeah. Sorry.
Please do not remove our podcast. Spotify.
No,
I have no
This is not a
affiliation with
conspiracy
Alex
podcast.
Jones.
I'm sorry for ever saying that stuff. I did not mean it.
If you hear him talk about it now, he'll be like, I talked about it one time on the show, and I talked about it for, I swear, no more than a minute and a half. And I let it go, and I never talked about it again. And then they just play back like hours of him being like, these kids are not crisis actors. Look at how they're marching around in circles outside the building. Anyway. So
Mount Rushmore
that
of
was-
American icons. Alex Jones.
yeah,
Alex Jones.
greatest performers of our time. Alex Jones is definitely in that conversation.
Alex Jones and Meryl Streep right next to each other.
Yes. So well, I was about to do Piano Man's question, but he's having a problem, it seems. Piano Man just texted me and said, "Y'all, I gotta poop so bad." So are we doing this segment or are we not?
So this
Let's go.
we can edit it.
Let's do
we
it.
can edit it. Just go.
Here's okay. You hold it until the end of this segment. We're counting.
No, let the man go. This is his
Do it.
segment.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Okay.
He wants to do it. We believe in you. You can do this. The question was, and maybe we'll all be pooping by the end of this question. I don't know. The question was, is social media exploitation, or is it a form of exploitation? Like, and I think Piano Man has a pretty specific idea about what he means by that, so I'll let him explain.
Well, yeah, I was asking it from the frame of view of social media basically creates a profile. It's a way for data to be centered on you, and they can track what you like, they can track what you follow. You post things, you say things, and you can build sort of a profile of each individual person. So having these kind of databases where you're willfully or willingly giving your information in that way allows marketers and companies to use this profile to figure out what you would like or what you do like and how they can target ads to you. And the reason that they target ads to you is to change who you are, basically. Like that's the ultimate goal of a marketer, is to change who you are so that you'll like their product. So there are just ways that subconsciously you can kind of start to become a different person because they have you so profiled that I'm not sure. If you think of it from that perspective, maybe social media is just a way of exploitation. I don't know what you guys' thoughts is.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
by definition, I mean, yes, right? It's probably actually even a little bit bigger than just social media, right? Like, it's basically having a cell phone in your pocket. Like, because you don't have to be on Facebook for, like, Google to just, send you ads. I think, it certainly is. And I think we see a lot of this with obviously with respect to just consumer products, but like we saw a lot of stuff with this with respect to the election process. And I read a report about this, and I wish I was more educated to relay it a little bit better, but it was about like the number of mentions and the number of things that would show up about like that were like pro like Joe Biden versus things about Trump. One of the reports specifically is kind of coming back to me as I'm talking, but I think I was listening to Michael Malice talk about this on his podcast, but he was talking about how like basically there was some I don't know, data scientist. I don't know what the right term is, but they were like tracking it. There was this firm that was like tracking like mentions, and they would have people that they were like, okay, we need like, and this was over several years. They're like, all right, we want you to register as a Democrat. We want you to register as Republicans. And the Democrats were getting these constant messages to their phones from like Google that were like, hey, don't forget to vote on November 3rd. Or whatever day. And the Republicans weren't. And then this guy called it out on like MSNBC or something. He was on a show, like a national show, and he called it out. And then all of a sudden it changed and everybody was getting the messages. But before he said it, it wasn't happening. It was kind of crazy. So I think it's number one, it's definitely exploitation. I actually have a deeper question on this, but I'll let you guys talk for a little bit first.
I mean, I definitely think it's exploitation the way that they do that. I mean, they data mine everything, and I like what you said because I've never thought about that before. I've never thought about how it's not just that they target ads like they know you're a conservative or they know you're a liberal or they know you're whatever, or you like this movie or you like this music, and so we're going to do ads kind of tailored toward something that we think that you want to buy, right? But they actually do things to change the way you feel and the way you think, And I think that's true. I think, and JBM, even your point was that. I mean, they took that information. They're like, okay, we know who's a Democrat, so let's target focus, right? And maybe these are people who are Democrats, but they don't vote. But then they keep getting this text message like, you know what? I'm going to this time. So I think that's true. I mean, I think these companies really are out to try and, if not really just make you spend your money on, like keep you on your side, kind of like we talked about a couple of weeks ago about how like California doesn't care about Republicans or conservatives or whatever. Either keep you on your side and get so we can identify you, or completely change your personality. And I think that is the goal of big tech.
I think it's wild.
I'll let Piano Man come in too, but go ahead.
No, I saw a study that was done where they created a profile of people and their personality based on what they liked and stuff. And they were able to create a better profile than they asked like their friends and family to create a profile of this person, and the social media site or the data collected created a better profile than like a friend would do or a family member would do, which is just completely wild. And then they just totally target the ad like based on that profile they created. So
what's weird is like almost in that respect, it's almost like good. Like it's actually going to send you like, because I mean, y'all remember when we first got on the internet and you got ads for stuff you did not care about at all the time, and now you don't. You do not that it's a good thing in general, but from that perspective, the stuff you see, you're like, oh yeah, I was looking that up. But yeah. Well. So go ahead, Preacher Paul. I know you got some thoughts, but then I have a kind of a follow up to this.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. I was just going to say, like, I absolutely don't think we should trust the big tech overlords to control what we see and what they have. But I also think kind of what some people were hitting on here is that there is like a free market capitalism case to be made for this kind of advertising. because they can turn around and say, we've developed our algorithms to the point where we can market to you exactly what you need, what you want, and we know what you're going to need to buy before you do. So again, I mean, it is kind of creepy, but that is the design, and it's only going to get more automated, specific as time goes forward. So I don't know where that goes.
Well, that was my point. Like, they want to change what you like and what you're interested in, though. That's like the whole thing.
Yeah.
That I'm trying to like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
it's deeper than just a product.
Use it to mold your behavior. Yeah.
Oh, well, and
and I think that's the aim.
Yeah.
Want to use it to change your behavior, but they're gonna try to fly it in under the radar with like free market defenses and be like, this is the purpose of stuff that you need. But other questions
before he asks this question, because I'm interested. I mean, it's not just products too. Like, if you look at, I was thinking about this the other day. There are people, and I know people have been obsessed with politics for a long time. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock. I mean, Shadow of a Doubt was about people's obsession with like murderers and the news and stuff, right? But I do think there's this like newfound religion, the religion of I am a Democrat or I am somebody who goes to church and tells Christians why they shouldn't be Republicans, you know? And on the flip side, it's like I'm a person.
Can you explain the second thing you just said?
Well, I mean,
I get the first thing, but
everybody has their, those friends you go to church with or whatever that like seemingly all they do on social media is post about why you're unchristian if you're a Republican. You know what I mean? These people like have this, it's almost like politics or telling people that they're wrong in who they vote for. It's like their religion. It's their passion. It's like and I think that's social media. You get so obsessed with hating someone in politics that you like worship that news constantly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think progressivism.
Just the experience of Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The
progressivism.
experience of Twitter itself makes us more.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Progressivism itself is a religion. I mean, and to the point that they're literally. I mean, let me take this a step further. I think they're literally have been looking for an end times event because every religion has one, right? And like that was COVID for them. They're like, no, this is even as the evidence continues to come out, I mean, most of us, we were at different wavelengths. Hey, a month in, 2 months in, 4 months in, whatever. We were like, okay, this is crap. Like, this isn't what they told us it was. I mean, I'm not saying COVID's fake, by the way.
Yes.
But
COVID is
like,
a real disease that exists.
Yes,
but it isn't wiping out 50% of the planet.
Right. But like even now, I mean, there are people on Twitter that are like, they're like, don't trust DeSantis. He's a liar. Like, what do you mean he's a liar? He just has like an open state that's like just living normally. Like, but these people, I mean, they were looking for an end times event so hard that they're like, this is the one, this is it. And like it's almost like they want this like almost apocalyptic feel because it's very strange. I don't know. Yeah. But bringing this kind of back, or go ahead, Piano
Let's
Man.
not be too blind though, because conservatism is also a religion. So
yeah,
it certainly can be. It certainly can be. There's no doubt. I mean, when you go to the Q path. By the way, do y'all remember who was it? Mike Pompeo that was on like CNBC and he took a drink of his coffee and there was a Q on the bottom of it and everyone flipped out. I can't remember who did it, but it was hilarious.
all right, what's the question?
and
I don't even know if it's a question so much as an observation. It's not really a question you're going to have an answer to, but like, so obviously, like at first it was like, hey, yeah, I Googled that once and now I got an ad, right? And then it became the thing where like people were like, okay, let me sit in my house, right? I don't have cats. I've never talked about cats before ever, but like we're going to have a 5-minute conversation about cat food, me and my wife. And then all of a sudden, like the next day, they're just getting pounded with cat food ads, which is creepy, right? So how about this? So me and a friend of mine are out playing golf. And we ended up playing with these two guys because things were kind of slow, so we just played with them to, kind of ease into it. And afterwards, like it was like 2 or 3 days later, he's like, dude, he's like, how about this? He said, "You remember that putter that guy had?" And this guy had this really weird looking like red putter. It was very, very distinct, kind of a weird shape. And we never talked about it. We never said like, "Man, what kind of putter is that?" We never even mentioned it one time ever the whole day. He said, "Dude, that night when I got home, I started getting ads for that putter." He said, "I never talked about it. I never said anything." He said, "All I ever did," he said, "I got my phone out a couple times." He's like, "Did my camera see the putter?" Like, I guess I don't even really know what the actual question is, but like, what are we going to find out down the road here that we're like, holy crap? Like,
it is really creepy because it does feel like sometimes like the ads literally read your thoughts. Like I haven't said anything, I haven't Googled anything, I just like thought about a thing and then I'm seeing an ad for it. But
yeah,
maybe it comes back to what Piano Man said. It knows your profile so well. But what was interesting about this particular situation, it wasn't like a name brand putter. It wasn't like a putter that would just be like advertised. It was super weird.
Yeah, it could be
Piano
like.
Man, do you have thoughts on that?
It just could be like this company that's just now trying to like come out. I don't know. Is it a company that's been around a long time, or do you know?
I don't even know.
Yeah, because it might be like a new company, and then somehow they knew that this guy went to a golf course, and so they were like just targeting ads of people who went to a golf course or something. I don't know, but that is super weird. I don't know.
Or maybe they knew that the other guy also went to the golf course,
And they knew location.
and that they were playing together.
Yeah, I knew the location, but you didn't get the ads, so.
I didn't know.
Do you guys? Does he have an iPhone or does he have a Android
iPhone.
phone?
Yeah,
Oh,
iPhone.
So y'all both should have been getting it if it was working.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is weird. And I mean, I read an article like maybe like a year and a half ago that was like, you think that, you're getting these ads and you're not talking about them, but really, you Googled something like in this situation, basically what this article would say is that putter, let's say it's a Callaway. I know you said it was a weird brand, but let's say it was a Callaway. And you Googled like Callaway or Titleist or whatever, and then it just coincidentally brought up that brand. It happens to be that. That was their argument. Like, but no, it doesn't.
Little
Like,
flimsy
they
there.
know. They know. I mean, I've had it as recent. I've had it as recent as like my wife and I were on the way to the grocery store. We were talking about like soap or something, and we got to the grocery store. Like the ads were about soap, and I would not have had time. Like, yeah.
Well, and really what it probably is, right, is like Google probably did an update and then they sent you a like 10,000 page like acknowledgement letter and you were like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're not actually reading it,
Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of that, into this joke, Jeff Bezos is stepping down as Amazon CEO. So say adios to Bezos. Said Bezos, I'm on to the next gig. Got to work on a robot that will help me dominate the globe and will also love me tenderly and passionately like no woman ever could. That was a joke about Jeff Bezos being intimate with a robot. Yes.
Poor Jeff. It's been a tough year for Amazon. I hope they can recover and bring somebody in that can really, get them back on track.
Agree.
Yeah, who knows what the Zonzon's going to do without old Bezos? They're going to be the next GameStop.
I heard they were hiring a robot that had the likeness of Steve Jobs.
Not Steve Wozniak.
Yeah, that was Steve Jobs' plan all along.
To come back.
He died of cancer on purpose so that he could be made into a robot. Yes.
He will be Cameron Winklevoss.
So, wait, how do you tell him apart from the other Winklevoss?
I think in real life there's actually only one of them. I think the twins was just for the movie,
really?
right?
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No,
is that not right?
Tyler and
Oh
Ken.
wait, no. In the movie,
No,
Army
Army
Hammer.
Hammer just plays them both.
Army Hammer just played two people. Also, he's a cannibal. So that's weird.
Yeah. I don't know how we haven't talked about that on this podcast. But,
That is a very weird thing.
that's my favorite.
We may talk about that off air.
Some very.
Question:
We could talk about that off air.
Has Army Hammer killed
bizarre
somebody?
messages? I will say. Legitimately, I don't know. After reading those messages,
Will he end up on our serial
Uh,
killer list at some point?
I don't know. So do we want to do my weird religious question at the end, or do we want to?
Let's save it. I think that gives everybody some time to get ready for it. Because I like it.
Yep. Okay. Cool.
And I can
We'll hold off on that one for today, and
Cliffhanger.
this has been the magic, y'all. Keep tuning into the magic. Send us your tweets. Send us your emails at magicintheattic at magicintheatticpodcast@gmail.com, and follow us all on the social medias. I'm at Very Ignorant Man. Give your Twitter handles, folks. Adios. We salute you. Show's about to rock.
I like this.